what was it like when your mom came in and told you that your dad, not only your dad, your hero, was never coming back to live with you?
Jamie, at first, I thought I was in trouble because the only time I got taken into Mom and Dad's room was when something really big had happened or I was really in big trouble. Mom took me in, and I can still remember exactly where I sat on the bed when Mom told me, "Stevie boy, your daddy's never going to come home and live with us again." And I knew she was wrong because my dad was my hero. All my dreams revolved around my dad. The only thing that mattered to me in life was to grow up and be just like my dad. And Dad had promised that he was going to teach me how to fix his plane and fly his plane. And I knew he loved the Indians in the jungle, and he wouldn't let me go out there because, well, they don't call it the rainforest for nothing. We get about 30 feet of rain a year. So there were rivers everywhere, and I couldn't swim yet. But I knew as soon as I learned how to swim that Dad would let me fly out into the jungles with him. And wow, life was so exciting. I didn't realize that most of you had cars in your garage. I thought everybody had an airplane in the garage beside their house. I would go out in the morning and help my dad load the plane. I'm sure it wasn't any help. And then I would wait with great expectation every afternoon, looking out over a little ridge that I could see in the jungles, because that's where my dad would always appear. And that was the most exciting. I still remember the feeling of seeing that little dot appear over Penny Ridge, and I knew my dad was coming home. But it had been about 3 days, and I hadn't seen my dad come back, and then people had started gathering at our home, which wasn't unusual because we lived right at the end of the road. So if you were coming down to the jungles, when the bus turned around, people would get off and they'd end up at our house. But this time there were lots of people coming, and they were staying, and I thought, this is really strange. Dad should be here because I know all these people want to talk to Dad. People love Dad, and he is a great storyteller. And when Mom told me that Dad was never coming home, I just couldn't understand it. So I said, "Where did he go?" And she said, "He went to live with Jesus." And I thought, oh, wow, that's cool because that's what we all want to do, right? But I couldn't understand that he hadn't come to pick me up because I wanted to go with him to live with Jesus. But my mom was right. And my dad never came back. It was the most excruciating, painful chapter of my life up to that point. It ruined my life. I didn't think there was anything to look forward to. I just absolutely couldn't contemplate the possibility of my dad not coming home. But he never did. I was too young to understand that God doesn't write his whole story in one chapter. I didn't know that there would be chapters coming, and that they would make sense eventually of that first hard chapter.